This is the man who controlled 90% of America's oil, built a fortune worth $400 billion in today's money, and created the blueprint every billionaire still follows. John D. Rockefeller didn't just build Standard Oil, he designed the entire operating system of modern capitalism that we're all still running on today. Think about this for a second. Every time you see a tech company buying out competitors, that's Rockefeller's playbook. When Amazon undercuts prices to destroy competition, that's Rockefeller. When companies vertically integrate to control their entire supply chain, that's Rockefeller. The man has been dead for nearly 90 years, but we're all still living in the economic matrix he created. And here's what's really wild. He started with nothing. His father was literally a con artist who sold snake oil. Bill Rockefeller would disappear for months, had multiple families, and once said, "I cheat my boys every chance I get to make them sharp." That's the role model John grew up with, a traveling con man who taught his kids that everyone was trying to screw them over. So at 16 years old, John takes his first job as an assistant bookkeeper, making $16 a month, not $16 an hour. $16 a month. He's working for this company called Hewitt and Tuttle, and he treats this job like it's the most important thing in the universe. He shows up early, stays late, and keeps his own personal ledger, tracking every single penny he spends. We're talking about a teenager who wrote down if he spent 2 cents on candy. By 20, he saved enough to start his own produce commission business with a partner named Maurice Clark. This is 1859. And they're basically middlemen buying crops from farmers and selling to stores. Nothing revolutionary, but Rockefeller is obsessive about the numbers. He tracks every expense, negotiates every deal, and squeezes every penny of profit. His partner later said working with him was like being in partnership with a machine. Then the Civil War hits in 1861, and here's where Rockefeller shows his first glimpse of ruthless genius. While other young men are enlisting to fight, Rockefeller pays $300 to hire a substitute to take his place in the draft. He sees the war as a business opportunity. The Union Army needs supplies, prices are going crazy, and Rockefeller is right there making money hand over fist selling produce to the government. But the real opportunity comes in 1863 when oil is discovered in Pennsylvania. Everyone's going crazy trying to drill for oil, but Rockefeller notices something different. The real money isn't in drilling, it's in refining. Drilling is gambling. You might hit oil, you might hit nothing. But if you own the refinery, every drop of oil has to come through you. So he builds his first refinery in Cleveland with a new partner, Samuel Andrews. Now here's where the Rockefeller method really starts to take shape. He doesn't just build one refinery, he starts buying out every other refinery in Cleveland. When owners won't sell, he drops prices so low they can't compete. He's selling refined oil at a loss just to destroy the competition. Once they're broke, he buys their refineries for pennies on the dollar. But that's just the beginning. Rockefeller realizes that transportation is the key to the whole operation. If you control how oil moves, you control the industry. So he goes to the railroads with a proposition that would be completely illegal today. He tells them, "I'll guarantee you massive shipments of oil, more than anyone else can offer. In exchange, you give me secret rebates on shipping costs. Oh, and one more thing. You also give me rebates on what my competitors ship." Think about how insane that is. Not only is Rockefeller paying less to ship his oil, he's actually making money when his competitors ship theirs. The railroads are literally paying him a commission every time his competition tries to do business. It's like if Amazon got a cut every time someone bought something on eBay. By 1870, he incorporates Standard Oil of Ohio. Within 2 years, he controls 25% of the entire U.S. oil industry. By 1880, it's 90%. He's not just winning the game, he's rewriting the rules as he plays. The way he structures Standard Oil is genius and terrifying. He creates what's called a trust, basically a holding company that owns stock in dozens of other companies. On paper, these look like independent businesses. In reality, they're all controlled by Rockefeller and his inner circle. It's the first real corporate octopus, with tentacles in everything. He's got companies at every level of the business. Standard Oil owns the wells that pump the crude. They own the pipelines that transport it. They own the refineries that process it. They own the chemical plants that make byproducts. They own the barrel factories. They own the tank cars. They even own the retail stores that sell to consumers. From the moment oil comes out of the ground to the moment someone lights their lamp, Standard Oil is making money at every step. And Rockefeller is ruthless about efficiency. He hates waste more than anything. Other refineries are dumping gasoline as a useless byproduct. But Rockefeller finds ways to sell it. They're throwing away tar and petroleum jelly, and Rockefeller turns them into products. He supposedly once saw workers soldering can lids with 40 drops of solder and made them use 38 instead. That's 2 drops per can times millions of cans, which adds up to real money. His management style is just as calculating. He never raises his voice, never loses his temper. Former employees described him as eerily calm, even when destroying competitors. He'd invite rival refinery owners to his office, show them his books proving he could operate at a loss longer than they could stay in business, and make them an offer. Sell now and get a decent price, or get crushed and get nothing. Most sold. The few who didn't got the full Rockefeller treatment. He'd build pipelines around their facilities, bribe their employees, buy up all the barrels in a region so they couldn't ship product, drop local prices below production cost until they bled money. Then when they were broken, he'd swoop in and buy the pieces. By 1890, politicians are starting to notice that one man basically controls America's entire oil supply. This leads to the Sherman Antitrust Act, specifically designed to break up monopolies like Standard Oil, but Rockefeller just restructures, creates new legal entities, and keeps control. It takes 21 more years before the Supreme Court finally orders Standard Oil to be broken up in 9. And here's the beautiful irony. The breakup makes Rockefeller even richer. Standard Oil gets split into 34 different companies. Rockefeller owns substantial stock in all of them. As these baby standards grow independently, his wealth explodes. Companies like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and ConocoPhillips all trace back to Standard Oil. The government tried to destroy his empire and accidentally made him the richest man in history. But let's talk about what this wealth actually means. At his peak, Rockefeller was worth about $400 billion in today's dollars. Some estimates go as high as $663 billion. For perspective, that's roughly 4 times what Elon Musk is worth at his peak. Rockefeller controlled about 1.5% of the entire US economy. Imagine one person today controlling $375 billion of America's 25 trillion GDP. That's the scale we're talking about. And he did it all while living like a monk. Rockefeller never drank, never smoked, never had any known affairs. He went to the same Baptist church every Sunday. He taught Sunday school. He gave exactly 10% of his income to charity from his first paycheck onward. The man destroying competitors Monday through Friday was teaching kids about Jesus on Sunday morning. This contradiction drove his critics crazy. Ida Tarbell, whose expose helped break up Standard Oil, called him a living mummy. She wrote that no man in American political or industrial life had achieved so much while violating the spirit of the Constitution. But Rockefeller saw no contradiction. In his mind, he was doing God's work by bringing efficiency to industry and using the profits for philanthropy. And the philanthropy was massive. Rockefeller essentially invented modern charitable giving. Before him, rich people might endow a library or hospital. Rockefeller created entire systems. He founded the University of Chicago with an $80 million donation, about $2.5 billion in today's money. He created Rockefeller University, one of the world's leading biomedical research institutions. The Rockefeller Foundation has given away billions and basically invented the idea of using science to solve social problems. His approach to giving was as systematic as his approach to business. He hired Frederick Gates, a Baptist minister, to manage his philanthropy. They researched causes, demanded accountability, and measured results. Sound familiar? That's because every modern billionaire from Gates to Zuckerberg copied Rockefeller's homework. But here's what's really fascinating about Rockefeller. He retired from active business at 52 and lived to 97. That's 45 years of retirement. He spent the last half of his life giving away money while his fortune kept growing from investments. By the time he died in 1937, he'd given away about $540 million, roughly $6 billion in today's money, and was still worth $1.4 billion. The man was so weird about money that he became famous for giving away dimes. Not dollars, dimes. He'd hand them to children, adults, anyone he met. Biographers estimate he gave away over 30,000 dimes in his lifetime. When asked why dimes, he said they were small enough that people would keep them as souvenirs rather than spend them. Even his charity was calculated for maximum psychological impact. His personal life was just as controlled. After developing alopecia and losing all his hair by 50, he wore wigs in public. He ate mainly milk and crackers in his later years. He golfed every day, took afternoon naps, and followed the same routine for decades. His secretary said you could set your watch by his schedule. But the real legacy isn't the money or even the companies. It's the blueprint he created for how capitalism works. Rockefeller proved that in a free market, the natural end state is monopoly. Without regulation, the biggest player will always destroy or absorb the smaller ones. He showed that vertical integration beats competition, that controlling infrastructure is more powerful than making products, that information and efficiency are the ultimate weapons in business. Every tech giant today runs on Rockefeller's operating system. When Google buys potential competitors, that's Rockefeller. When Apple controls every aspect of its ecosystem, that's Rockefeller. When Amazon uses data to identify successful third-party products, then creates cheaper versions, that's pure Rockefeller. He wrote the code that Silicon Valley is still executing. The antitrust laws created to stop him are still the main weapons against tech monopolies. The philanthropic foundations he pioneered are how modern billionaires try to rehabilitate their images. The business school case studies, analyzing competitive strategy, are all variations on themes Rockefeller invented. Even the conspiracy theories about rich elites controlling the world trace back to Rockefeller. He really did have secret meetings with competitors. He really did use industrial spies. He really did manipulate governments. Every paranoid fantasy about how the world really works has a grain of truth rooted in Standard Oil's actual practices. But here's the thing that's hardest to grasp about Rockefeller. He genuinely believed he was doing good. In his mind, competition was wasteful. Multiple companies doing the same thing meant duplication, inefficiency, higher prices for consumers. By creating a monopoly, he could eliminate waste, standardize quality, and actually lower prices through scale. And weirdly enough, he was kind of right. Kerosene prices did drop dramatically under Standard Oil's monopoly. This is the paradox of Rockefeller. He built his fortune by destroying thousands of small businesses, but he used that fortune to fund medical research that saved millions of lives. He crushed competitors ruthlessly, but he created efficiencies that made energy affordable for ordinary people. He corrupted the political system, but he also created institutions that advanced human knowledge. Modern billionaires love to quote Rockefeller's saying that the way to make money is to buy when blood is running in the streets. They focus on the ruthless opportunism, but they miss the second half of his philosophy, that great wealth comes with great responsibility. Rockefeller didn't just make money, he felt obligated to solve humanity's problems with it. The question for our time is whether we can have one without the other. Can we have the innovation and efficiency that comes from ambitious entrepreneurs without the monopolistic exploitation? Can we have transformative philanthropy without the brutal wealth accumulation that makes it possible? Or are we stuck in Rockefeller's matrix, where extreme inequality is the price of progress? Because make no mistake, we are living in Rockefeller's world. Every time you see a startup's exit strategy is to be acquired by a tech giant, that's Rockefeller's world. Every time a billionaire pledges to give away their fortune, that's Rockefeller's world. Every time the government debates breaking up a monopoly, that's Rockefeller's world. Every time the government debates breaking up a monopoly, that's Rockefeller's world. The man who started as a bookkeeper making $16 a month didn't just build a company. He built the template for how power works in modern capitalism. He showed that with enough discipline, ruthlessness, and strategic thinking, one person really can reshape the entire economy. And the craziest part, the companies that emerged from Standard Oil's breakup, ExxonMobil, Chevron, BP America and others, are still among the most powerful corporations on earth. Over a century later, we're still living with the consequences of John D. Rockefeller's empire. The trust was busted, but the model survived. The man died, but the matrix lived on. That's the real lesson of Rockefeller. It's not about the oil or the money or even the monopoly. It's about understanding that the rules of the game can be rewritten by anyone willing to think bigger than everyone else. Rockefeller saw that capitalism wasn't a fixed system, it was code that could be hacked, optimized, and controlled. Today's entrepreneurs study Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, but if you really want to understand how the game works, you need to study the man who invented it. John D. Rockefeller didn't just play Monopoly, he created it. And until someone writes a new operating system for capitalism, we're all still running on his code. The dimes he handed out weren't just charity, they were reminders. Every time someone pulled out that dime, they remembered the man who gave it to them, the man who proved that with enough focus, strategy, and ruthlessness, you can literally buy the world. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?